normally it's like, okay, pipe to pipe. I'm going to get him far pipe. I'm going to hit him inside. Like you don't see that kind of
You did that left-handed.
yeah.
Wow, I didn't. You. That's the first time I've even seen you hold that left hand.
Dude, I'm
higher
46
than the
years
right.
old
That's
today.
pretty
It's
good.
my birthday. You know what? I got a left hand for my birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah.
You got a left hand for your birthday.
Yeah, exactly.
Clark, tell me about North Carolina. Was there something you saw or heard, maybe outside the frame of the TV we all watched going forward about the Tar Heels that stood out?
You know, I mess up a lot of calls and I'm wrong a lot. For some reason, in the beginning of that game, and the way Rutgers was playing defense, I knew Lance Tillman was going to be a big factor in that game. And he was a kid who only had 5 goals heading into the game. And I saw him moving and dodging. I watched the rest of Carolina moving and dodging. It just felt like they didn't have it matchup wise. I felt right away he did. Tanner Cook was out, obviously only playing extra man. He's still nursing a lower body injury. That's what I thought Carolina had on Saturday. And if Carolina didn't have a guy who scored 5 goals in the regular season, they'd be doing exit interviews right now. His quickness and his ability to get to the rack and wanting to get to the rack was the thing that stood out to me the most. And it was great to see the momentum build within a player too, because in the beginning of the game, they gave him that little hit and he scored. And then all of a sudden you felt like what they were lacking is what he had to give.
So Loyola flies home last night on a charter with Maryland. I spoke to Jonah Hess, who's the video coordinator at Maryland today. I was like, how was the flight? And he said, honestly, it was fine. Both teams were completely exhausted. And he said, given the length of the season, the testing, the protocols, what Loyola has been through in the last couple of weeks, going out to Denver, back home, back to Notre Dame. I can only imagine how tired those guys were after what was, a grueling game yesterday, Anish.
I thought Loyola gave it its all. I thought honestly, I thought they played better. I thought they had a brilliant game plan. That coaching staff, we've been around them a few times. Charlie Toomey, Mark Van Arsdale, Matt Dewan, Steve Eichnes. I mean, those guys, I thought just had a brilliant game plan. They slowed Duke down. Duke kind of played into that really until late in the game. There weren't a ton of opportunities and there weren't really a lot of risk taking from Duke. I didn't see them want to say, hey, we got better athletes. Let's use them. If you started drafting players, Kark, from those two teams, I mean, you'd probably get down to at least 5 or 6 before you took a Loyola player.
Look, that's a great point, Anish. And Quint, jump in here too. Top to bottom, if you look at the last decade, top to bottom, consistency in terms of what they do on both sides of the ball. Has there been a better staff than Loyola?
No, I mean,
hard to argue.
Matt Dwan's been there 18 years. Charlie 16. Steve Vakeness is a volunteer for 16 years handling their faceoff guys who've been consistently good. They win the goaltending war always historically with Charlie. And then you bring in Mark Van Arsdale a handful of years ago, and you got a guy who's got national championships. I put him and Dave Metzbauer, 1-2 among the most accomplished in the sport's history.
They had the right game plan, Quint, and they were right there. They had chances. They had Duke on the ropes. I feel for those guys because, man, they played their hearts out. That was David. That was Goliath, and they almost took down Goliath. I mean, they hit Goliath with the slingshot, and he almost went down.
Yeah, and in terms of Duke, Kark, the defense showed up. They played good defense in this game. You hold the team to 9 goals?
Yeah.
But offensively, I leave this game with a lot of question marks. The parts, again, as I said, the sum of the parts should be better than what we're seeing on the field.
You know what's fascinating? Duke this year, they beat Notre Dame in overtime. They beat Virginia in overtime. They beat Loyola in overtime. I feel like I'm missing one, right? North Carolina, another one. They've won 4 games in overtime. They are not that far away from, if some of those games turn on their axis and go the other way, we look at Duke differently right now. We do. They've played with fire.
Because 2 other losses were legitimate, convincing losses. Notre Dame and North Carolina were convincing losses.
Yeah. Right. They have kind of run out of burning buildings without a scratch multiple times and lived to talk about it. Joe Robertson has this knack for coming up with clutch plays. I can't put my finger on it, but it seems the one thing that I do notice is, in those pressure spots, they do allow their stars to go outside of the system and break the rules, per se. We saw that in the Notre Dame game with Michael Sowers. We saw that with the Brian Smith goal. I mean, Duke doesn't really push a whole lot, but they pushed there. And maybe that's a lesson for championship weekend. Hey, you've got horses. Let them run.
Yeah.
Well, Virginia let their horses run. I think we've been asking for an A+ from the Cavaliers, and boy, that was an A++. That was destruction, physically, emotionally, skill-wise. It was shocking. I was shocked.
Kark, it seemed like Virginia kind of embraced their identity. This is who we are. This is who we're going to be.
Yeah, you got the feeling too. They actually liked the fact that people were doubting them and that Georgetown was the favorite going into that game. I mean, it's crazy as it sounds. Like, people thought Georgetown, including me, was in a better position to win that game than Virginia.
That's right. We had a mailbag question. Can Georgetown win the national championship?
Absolutely. And I'm not embarrassed to say I said that. You
were joking. You can't win. You can't win.
No, you can't. Of course not. Win. But it was a physicality of Virginia too. I go back to their 2019 run when, the big bad bully in college lacrosse in 2018 and 19 was Yale, right? Like, Yale will get into a street fight with you and they will beat you up. Well, Virginia beat up Yale that day on Memorial Day. You guys remember that. They were the aggressor, right? They were the bully in that match, and they were the bully in this match.
I was hoping for one thing from the internet after that game. Did you see Kevin Warren's quotes about this was like Jurassic Park and Virginia had all these big, tall velociraptors everywhere we went? Somebody needs to take the compilation of the Virginia hits, set it to the John Williams score. Dun, 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 dun.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
John Tillman did it again. He's got to have like the best quarterfinal record in the history of the sport.
Okay, so Q 8-1.
Other than your coach, Kark.
Roy Simmons, yeah. Roy Simmons quarterfinal.
22 in a row he won, right?
22 in a row.
He won 22 in a row. Again, the further we get away from that accomplishment, the more preposterous it really is.
8-1 in the quarters. And it's funny, Q, as a lot of the lax parents reminded me over the weekend, I never played lacrosse, and I'm lucky to be part of this game. So having said all that, I have watched sports before, and sometimes it is simple. You give the ball to Jared Bernhardt, you put him on an island, and you say, go run by your guy. It really is that simple for Maryland because nobody's been able to stop that.
Kark, I was trying to think of an attackman from yesteryear whose speed differential was so pronounced. I mean, Mark Millen had acceleration from the left side. I just couldn't, Ben Reeves at times could run by his guy and make it look pretty easy. But the way Bernhardt's dusting people by 3 yards, like no one's been able to get topside and turn him. And so it's just, he looks like a varsity player playing with the JV or a varsity player playing with the fresh soft team.
No, it's nuts that you actually thought of that too, because I was thinking the same thing today. Like, who's a guy that's owned one-on-one matchups the way he has, right? Because like when you think of guys like Mike Powell and Mikey Sowers and all these guys,
Dennis Goldstein, Eamon McEnany,
Yeah, there's a suddenness to their game.
Yes.
Like it's like bam, 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 where he's just he's a jet engine, and like it's crazy. I don't know. Ben Reeves would be someone in that category, and as good as Ben Reeves was,
he wasn't that fast. He wasn't as fast as Bernhardt.
No, that's my point. Like, no one could really run with Ben Reeves. And if you don't even have to think twice on who's faster and who's more of a mismatch, that just tells you how fast Bernhardt is. It's
Jack
nuts,
Hilty,
dude.
Jack Hilty, Quint. I mean, ACC Defender of the Year. Great season. He was phenomenal. And Notre Dame team concept and all. There were times when, like he made Jack Keelty look ordinary running by him. And that's no slight on Jack Keelty. That speaks to how unstoppable Bernhardt is. And I say unstoppable. I mean, we have not seen a team figure out an answer for Jared Bernhardt.
No.
Justin's
There
here.
he
You
is.
got us, Justin? How many diapers
Justin.
have you changed since the baby's been born?
You know, too many. I'm always changing diapers late at night. That's the hardest part.
Oh. Was your wife able to watch the High Point game when you scored right at the opening faceoff?
Oh, the Monmouth game. Yes.
Excuse me. Yeah, Monmouth game.
Yes.
Was she able to watch that Monmouth game?
She was in the hospital watching it. And I just have a funny story about that because, you know, you guys that were announcing it had, you know, put up her picture with baby Scarlett there, and the nurse was in the room at the same exact time, and she looked up at the TV and she's like, "What are you doing on TV right now?" And my wife was just kind of laughing about it, and she's like, "Oh, that's my husband, and he's playing right now." And so they just got a kick out of it. The nurse couldn't believe that she was on TV while she was also sitting in the hospital. It's pretty funny.
What's been the best part of being a dad?
You know, it's funny. I was asked that question before I was a dad, and I had no idea how to answer that. But the coolest thing has just been being able to hold the baby and look down and just realize, like, I made this baby. This is my baby. And, you know, like for me, she has a piece of me and I love her. And you don't know how much you can love something until like you make it. It's so cool. And also just being a dad and having gone through the whole birth process with my wife and holding her while she's going through something so incredibly challenging. Just the level of respect I have for her now and how much more that I love my wife now because of what she went through. That's it's just opened my eyes to a lot.
I'm going to ask you this because I know for me, it was the most awesome and most overwhelming feeling I've ever had in my life. My wife had a C-section, so I was the first one to hold the baby in the delivery room. And when people ask you, you know, why are you here? What's the meaning of life? That was it.
Mm-hmm.
I felt, I think, every single emotion that exists. And I'm wondering, what was that moment like for you the first time you held Scarlett June?
It was just surreal, you know, like your heart through the process of the childbirth, you're just hoping that everything goes well, right? You just want the safety of your wife, the safety of the baby, and then to hold her in my arms. You know, first my wife got to hold her just on her chest, and that's when we were able to get that beautiful picture, and just being able to touch her and kiss her and just, you know, be so grateful that she was able to make it alive and there were no complications. I just fell in love with that baby, and I was just so happy for that moment, and to see my wife go through that. You know, I couldn't look at my wife with any more loving eyes than how I was looking at her.
What's it been like to kind of re-enter yourself into the team over the last 2 weeks now as a dad, as someone whose teammates are kind of in a different world than you are?
Yeah, it's obvious that we're in a little bit of a different world. Just being married, that was one thing. I was like, yeah, I'm married. Nobody else on the team's married, but now having a kid, it's something that's definitely been not necessarily a game changer. It's more of my team. I feel like my team members are so invested in my family now. Like the baby is a part of them now. I feel like they feel like they're uncles, and they totally are uncles to that baby. And that's something that's so cool. Just have an opportunity to come back right after my wife giving birth and play in that game was amazing. And to be able to score a goal in that game just to start us out was really cool. But then to feel that love and support from not only the teammates that I have, but also the parents on the sidelines, it was really cool. And it's been amazing. And I feel like I just feel so much closer to the guys on the team throughout this whole process.
In the fourth quarter, I saw you chase a Rutgers player down that you really had no business catching. Walk me through like what was going through your mind at that very moment.
Yeah, I just think in that game, having the ball was so crucial. I thought Rutgers offense was playing phenomenal. I thought their defense was playing phenomenal as well. And their goalie was outstanding. And so if I could do anything I possibly could to just give us a small edge, if we could get a few more ride backs and we could have the possessions a little more often, I just felt like that would really help us. And I think a lot of us we were dead tired in the fourth quarter, just like the Rutgers players were. But if I could just somehow get that ball back so we could have the opportunity, I think it was, 40 seconds left in the game where I tried riding that ball back. I just knew that our offense would be able to score one last goal if we could just get a few more possessions. So that was my mindset. I got to chase this guy. He's not getting the ball to the offensive end.
You had
Tell
that
me-
daddy dopamine running through you. That's what it
Yeah.
was.
That's right.
Tell me something about Lance Tillman that we don't know.
Something about Lance Tillman. Well, you guys have seen his shakes on the field. We call him Dance Tillman. It has got the sickest moves. His feet are so quick. I'm trying to think of things that you guys don't know. He's one of the nicest. Well, you probably know this. He's one of the nicest kids you'll ever meet. Always smiley, always happy. He just wants to play hard and get on the field. And when he does get on the field, he takes advantage of it. And that's something that we love about him. He's provided an incredible spark for us just throughout this whole season, actually.
Justin Anderson, North Carolina midfielder, married, coming up on what, a 4-year anniversary, right?
Yep.
Now a father, and now a chance to win a championship. Appreciate you joining us here on Yard Sale.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, guys.
Justin,
Hey.
good stuff, man.
Good luck. Thank
Hey,
you.
Justin, one
Good.
question for you before you go.
Yeah.
You mentioned that your teammates and you all love each other so much. How many guys have actually volunteered to change a diaper in the middle of the night for you? Give you a little break?
So championship weekend is set. We've got 3 ACC teams, a former member in Maryland. It feels like Diane returning to Cheers, the series finale. Hey, I'm back.
You watch
Remember
too much
me?
TV. You watch too much TV.
That was a big moment in television, the Cheers finale. Anyway, everyone under 40, 35 totally doesn't get
Yes.
that reference. But this is the third time UNC and Virginia will play. The first two were absolute track meets. The last time they played in Chapel Hill, the first 5 minutes of the game saw 7 goals. Quint,
They had 15 shots, or they had like 30 shots at the end of the first quarter.
they're lucky this is the first semifinal game, aren't they?
Yeah, this will be interesting. Obviously, we're going to UConn. We'll see what the crowd situation is like. It's a grass surface. May have some sprinkles on Friday or early Saturday. We'll see. Two teams that know each other well. I think if you look at last week, Virginia's playing better right now. But when you handicap these teams, last week is kind of dangerous. I mean, I point to Georgetown. Everyone gave a lot of significance to their win over Q. So body of work matchup here. Face-off's pretty even. Goaltending, I would say, is even. Maybe a slight edge in the close defense in my eyes from Virginia. Carolina's got better depth of scoring. Virginia probably has more stars and more options with Schellenberger and more.
Lance Tillman for UNC, Cole Kastner for Virginia.
I like that. Can Tillman give a little bit more of what you saw on Saturday? That's going to be a tough ask. But for me, I think for Carolina, like Tanner Cook, not having him in the offense, and yes, they beat Duke the last game of the season without him. But I think if you go deeper into that, right, and you start making a run at a national title, I feel like he's a missing piece that if he doesn't play, I don't know if you can rely on Lance Tillman having that kind of an impact again. I mean, I certainly think he's capable of getting to the rack and creating some nice mismatches for Carolina. But I just think that like Tanner Cook playing 5 years with Will Perry and Justin Anderson, and he plays very different than the rest of those guys. Like his health is really, really important to me in terms of that offense. I think they need him. He's a great X factor. I'm glad you brought him up too. I know you didn't play lacrosse, but you know the game as well as anyone else. And the fact that you brought up Cole Kastner is a big one.
You guys are on fire today.
Oh, all right. Kark's a lax dad today. Q, I'm going to ask you because you asked me the other week. Over under UNC Virginia.
Ooh, I'm going to go with 25 and a half.
Wow, that's kind of low.
What are you doing?
26, 13, 13, 26 and a half.
Anish is at
26 and a
30.
half.
I'm
26
at 30.
Right.
Yeah, I'm at 30.
30.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was 34 last time, 29 the first time.
Yeah.
And I'll state this too. I think Maryland's played like 8 consecutive times the second game, right? Which is not the easiest thing in the world, too, because you have to sit around and wait, and then you have the shorter turnaround. Like,
think
I
they're
don't know
aware of
why
that?
Maryland. What's
Oh
that?
yeah, John Tillman sends me a text. I sent him a congratulatory text after they beat Notre Dame. He responds, "Do you know if we're the second game?"
Yes. Well, I
Like
think
he was
Well, they are.
expecting it.
They are, and I think it's like 8 times in a row. But that's a quicker turnaround. It's a challenge for him and his staff. I'm looking forward to heavyweight matchups in this game. I'm looking forward to JT Giles Harris. I know he's been back and forth with the number one matchup this season because you have Kenny Brower, who's a fantastic long defender. You have to put JT on him because JT has the wheels. JT on Bernhardt is a heavyweight matchup. I mean, JT Giles Harris was the 3rd pick in the PLL draft as a defender. Like, defenders typically don't go that high. So you know his athleticism, you know his bite and his ability to really buckle up and go after a challenge. He was a fantastic football player in high school, and his brother's in the NFL, and he knows how to compete at a really, really high level. That's one heavyweight matchup. And then there's actually like 2 on the other side. I think Nick Grill could be the most underrated one-on-one defender in the country, right? I think he's going to go on Sowers because he can match the feet on Sowers a little bit more probably in space than Brett Makar, who I think could be a first-team All-American this year and is strong as an ox. Like, the Makar-Brennan O'Neill matchup is a heavyweight matchup in itself.
Yeah,
like that matchup is made for television, right? Like, have you seen Brett Makar's quads look like Saquon Barkley's, right?
Yeah.
Brendan O'Neill can bully anyone because he's 6'2", 220, and he's jacked. Well, that is a lot of meat going at each other.
Yeah, no,
As,
that's the must. That
our
dictates
colleague-
Maryland's hands because you can't put Grill or Rahill on O'Neill. So, I mean, Makar's got that matchup.
Yeah, as our colleague Mike Golick Jr. likes to say, first team all thick, THLC, right?
Yes.
Quint, the JT Giles Harris, Jared Bernhardt matchup, I want to follow up there because to me, the way Maryland likes to deploy Bernhardt, putting Bernhardt out on an island with the defender, doesn't that suit Giles Harris's skill set much better?
We'll see. I mean, no one's been able to keep paces with Bernhardt, flat out. But JT's smart. He'll play his angles well. Ronnie Caputo will have something up his sleeve. I think Duke's defense was pretty good the other day. I really do. After some moments this year that their off-ball defense hasn't been great and their shorties have been getting taken to the rack, I've been kind of impressed. And Adler is really good too. So I don't worry about Duke's defense as much in this game as I worry about their O.
I tell you what, if Maryland ends up in a dog pile on Memorial Day, we need to talk about the Terps as an all-time team, considering their path, going to South Bend, beating Notre Dame. That means they would have beaten Duke, the preseason favorite in the semifinals, and then you beat either North Carolina, the 1 seed, or the reigning champs, Virginia, on Memorial Day, and you run the table and you go undefeated. You can go back to the prologue, and they only played a Big Ten conference schedule. Postseason matters. What you do in the playoffs matter. And if Maryland takes that path to a championship, they're an all-time team.
In the year of the cicada, Lax.com.
All right, let's make the sponsors happy. It's our Something of the Week brought to you by Lax.com. Have you seen the new Cascade XRS helmet some of the teams have been wearing in this tournament? Maryland is heading to championship weekend, looking good in the new helmet. Be sure to customize your Cascade XRS when they become available June 1st at Lax.com.
That helmet's sweet.
Something of the week, Kark. Let's start with you. Nobody remembers a quarterfinal loser.
Wrong. Quint always says that. Normally I agree with him. Wrong. I'm going to remember all of these quarterfinal losers. And I'll start with Georgetown. It was a team that had a terrific first round win against Syracuse, and the lacrosse world thought they arrived. Well, Virginia smacked them, but I think this is going to be something that the program will always go back to as Kevin Warren builds a championship level team. Jake Caraway's their Georgetown finalist, and he's gone, but there's so many young guys ready to go and make their mark. not only in that program or that conference, but the bigger landscape of Division I lacrosse. The second team that lost at Hofstra on Saturday was Rutgers. I'm going to remember them. I'm going to remember Adam Sharilambides willing his team to be in the mix late in that game with some incredible goals. I'll always remember that. I'll remember the Kirst brothers joining forces. Connor Kirst from Villanova, Colin Kirst from Lehigh, playing for their father's team. Their dad died, Kyle, in 2015. They both joined Rutgers this year as grad students and had All-American caliber seasons. I will remember them. I will remember Loyola and Charlie Toomey, Matt Dwan, and Mark Van Arsdale being the best staff possibly in all of lacrosse and taking Duke to the end of that game and pushing them to limits that no one thought they would. Kevin Lindley and his toughness, scoring those huge goals. I will remember that. I will remember Notre Dame. And it's a program that is the best team in college lacrosse. It's never won a national championship, but they're always in the mix. I will remember how they pieced together perfect pieces of a puzzle through the transfer portal and guys like Kyle Thornton and Kyle Gallagher coming from Penn and Will York from Bucknell. I will remember that team. And the quarterfinals, no one will ever remember a quarterfinal loser except for maybe me.
Who lost in the 2016 quarters? Who lost to Navy in the 2004 quarters? Who lost in the 2009 quarters?
Georgetown.
I mean, come on, man.
Quint,
Please.
you're something of the week.
My something of the week.
You might be right. You might be right.
No, honestly, no, I do remember Albany when they lost in the quarters.
Yes.
First time.
You remember the heartbreaker ones.
I do. You do remember the heartbreakers. Those the outlier teams who finally
Max Seabald chasing down.
Yeah. No, the outlier games. You do.
Yeah.
My something of the week is flying solo in this bizarro COVID year. The year of the cicada, the year where we're broadcasting games from our home. They finally cut us free to go cover a quarterfinal round in South Bend, in Arlotta. And here I am announcing a game in a little cubicle that's glassed off. And there's a niche in the cubicle next door. And we're announcing 2 games. It's a long day with some fill and some half times. And we're basically on an island there. Limited resources for refreshments, for the amenities. And I look over before overtime, and all of a sudden the box next to me is empty. And my producer's saying, okay, call it, Quint, call it. I'm like, call what? He's like, call the face-off. Well, here we are. We're in overtime. I mean, overtime. University of Maryland and Notre Dame. And Anish is not on the mic. And I am calling the opening face-off of overtime. And I look out there and I'm like, wow, we got a pair of 52s. That's a little weird.
Terp Nation on their feet as we ready for sudden victory. Next goal wins. They put up 4 minutes on the clock, give each of these coaches a timeout, and we start from scratch. Kyle Gallagher for Notre Dame. Luke Weirman for Maryland. Weirman back to himself with an easy face-off win.
Weirman wins the face-off, and up the stands, I see running this puffy hair bouncing up and down, There he goes. That's the fastest. Thank God there was no swimming involved. He never would have gotten there. Next thing you know, Maryland gets possession, and Anish is back on the mic. Just like, just when you thought you had like normalcy, there goes Anish.
He didn't.
DeMeo for the win!
Hold on a second. And so there's context to this story. Normally, most stadiums that you call a game from have a bathroom in the press box.
Or on the same floor.
Or on the same floor. Correct. It's not a mile away. So part of the reason I don't love doing games at Arlotta and Homewood, because you got to go through the stands and down to the concourse to use the restroom. Now, normally when you're doing one game, it's not a problem. You go at halftime, whatever, you go before the game. So in this case, between game 1 and 2, you have some water, you go to the bathroom. We had some audio issues, so my voice was stressed a little more than it usually is. So I got to hydrate. It's a hot day.
It's hot.
I'm drinking a lot of water, a lot of talking. You got 2 games. So at halftime of the second game, I got to go to the bathroom, but we have to do our own halftimes. And so I'm telling my producer, hey, is there a way I can use the restroom at halftime? Like, I really need to use the restroom at halftime. Hey, sorry, we can't. We got a 1:30 break, and then you got to come back and do highlights and all this stuff. And
Should have taped it pregame.
we should have taped it. We should have taped it pregame. So it's 12-9 Notre Dame in the fourth quarter. And I'm thinking, all right, this game will end in regulation. I can hold it. And when I tell you, like, I got a leader in me. My bladder is crying out for help. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I heard the Joe Buck story once where Joe Buck actually went in a water bottle or something while in the press box. But Quint, as you know, Notre Dame's press box is different. It's not a booth. We don't have a booth. We're calling the game, and every writer, every sports information director, every personnel person is right in front of us. And there's a clear glass in front of us. There's a clear glass where you're in the booth next to me. There's another clear glass behind me. And oh, by the way, there's a camera right behind me. So now I'm thinking, all right, 2021, can somebody run me a cup or, a bottle, something, because I got to go and it's bad and we might have overtime. But then I'm thinking, there's a camera behind me. If I go during a break and
viral
if
clip
walking by, right, there's
no
fans,
pun intended.
There's fans who can look into our press box and watch. Somebody's got a cell phone. I could lose my job. We're in the cancel culture era. Like, this is it. So I'm fretting. What do I do? So finally, when we get to overtime in our talk back, we have a button where I can talk to my producer. I said, hey, I have to go. Like, it is an emergency. I've got no option. I've got to run down. Can you hold it? Can you hold the face off? And he goes, yeah, okay, I got you. So I run down. Now, to get to the bathroom at Arlotta Stadium, you have to go out the press box, through the bleachers, down the stairs, around the tunnel, into the concourse, and use the public restroom, and then go all the way back around, up the stairs, through the bleachers. So I am running up. I got the Maryland fans heckling me. What are you doing?
All right, guys, welcome to Mailbag Championship Weekend Edition. We got some questions that we're going to throw at the guys. Actually, this first one comes from really me and all fans. We're coming up to Hartford this weekend, and fans want to know, when and where is Anish getting this haircut?
It's a good question. Well, I have my clippers oiled, charged, ready to go. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I haven't really gotten this juice to cut someone's hair in a long, long time, because it's like a makeover, right? Like, I get to make this guy look like I don't know, like the old Anish again, right? I'm bringing him back because he used to keep it nice and tight. People think this guy just let himself go over the last year, but if you look at him over the last 20, he was always nice and clean and tight. So I'm looking forward to this too, and it's going to be a challenge for me. The end product unequivocally will be fantastic. But I think the steps to where I get to where I want it to be will be a challenge, because
God, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, no, don't worry. Hey, it can't be. I cut Cotter's hair this weekend, so we're doing a game. This guy, the audacity of him, he had me on like photo thing, like almost like making sure I knew what I was doing. I'm like, dude, I've been cutting hair since 5th grade. I'll be like,
you
You're gonna
mad.
need a bigger clipper for
an
Anish.
out like this, like, and he's not the kind of guy you want to get angry too. He's very antsy. Like I'm saying to myself, geez,
This segment's going off the rails.
I saw the picture. You looked angry and offended.
Yes.
I told Quint and a couple of other people. They said, "Oh, can Kark cut hair? Whatever." My wife was making fun of you. Does Kark know what he's doing? I said, "Listen, like,
I can't take them serious when they question me.
I said,
I'm that good at it.
So sensitive about the hair cutting skills, like, because remember originally I said to you, we can do a nice little trim job, give the length a good chop, and then I can get it cleaned up a couple of days later professionally. And you basically were like ready to cancel our friendship over that.
No, listen, it's one of those things. Like, look, I have a lot of flaws in my life. There's a lot of things I'm not good at. Like, I know how to cook and I know how to cut hair. Okay. Like, I can cut hair. I'm very serious about cutting hair too. Like, I cut my wife's hair. I cut my daughter's hair. Like, no one cuts anyone's hair in my house but me. I do some of my closest friends. I'll do guys that have like big engagements and and they have, places to be where they're going to be seen. I cut their hair. But for you, I'm really pumped about this on multiple levels. I mean, we're doing it for a charitable endeavor with One Love, and we're teaming up with them. So it's going to be awesome. And we're going to get people behind that to create a buzz and be able to donate for a cause that we really feel is great, that we can get behind. So we will have all the details throughout the course of the week, when and where. I would ideally like to do it and capture it so people can see the interaction, see the stages. And we're talking to people within our company to maybe make that happen. So we'll have it all out there. And I would love if Quint could come too, because I'll clean you up too, man. People don't realize this, Quint. People don't realize the shorter your hair is, the more you need to be
cut
detailed.
it. I got to cut this every week now.
Yeah.
I'm on a weekly basis with my razor. But no, I will. Last thing for the viewers, I contributed small sum. I don't think we're asking for much. I got to tell you, it's really easy. You just follow the details on Anisha's Instagram or the tweets. It is super simple and super easy, and it's a great cause.
Yeah, and I would say if you're not sure what to donate, what I've suggested is donate what you typically pay for a haircut. I think that's a good starting point. Obviously, if you want to give more, give more. But it's something that we'll all get behind. Hey guys, I'd love to stick around for the rest of the questions. It's actually my birthday. I promised my daughter, she came home early for school. We're going to spend the afternoon together. As much as I love all of you, goodbye.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Mr.
birthday to
Carcaterra.
Kark. Happy birthday to Kark.
All right.
Happy birthday to you.
He's gone. He's gone. Yes. Guys.
Good luck with this one. Good
Watch.
luck with this one, Mason.
Yeah, you're going to have to edit this show down. Yeah, this
Holy
is going to be a
mackerel.
challenge. Wow.